Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode on this channel. And again, we are going to be talking about Bill Bryson. And why is my face so dark? Bill Bryson. Again, this is one of his books, The Body. This was written in 2019, and like how the audio guide is useful to like a person, whoever that guide may be, whatever language that may be, this is basically the tour guide to your body. Literally inside of you, it's a little living chemical mesh of things, of atoms rearranged into, well, cells that, molecules are rearranged into organelles, into cells, and then into, tissue, then organs and organ systems, and finally into the big, living, beautiful mesh that is you. And that's actually very useful too. Number one on the Bill Bryson's The Body is that it's a guide for occupants. Literally, that's what he says. Bryson himself, well, we're not going to talk about it right now, but we're just going to go for a quick summary. In chapter 1, and he talks about how it is to build a human. It turns out you can just have $3. When I was in high school, his teacher literally said it would take only a couple of dollars to make a human. You can buy it from a convenience store, and even a couple of dollars back then was still very cheap. Sure, it was only a few cents to buy a can, and 1 pence, one pound of several pence to buy a snack. But still, a few dollars was still cheap too. And then in chapter 2, it talks about our skin and hair. Chapter 3, the microbes that are inside you, the good and bad. Most people think all microbes are bad, but it turns out that even the microbes that in spit, I regret doing that, is actually mostly good. And number 4, we talk about the brain. The brain, we have explored the sky, we have been everywhere too, but the brain just several kilograms of mesh inside my head, his head, her head, your head, whatever it may be, is still more fabulous, and we still understand less about it than we know more about the night sky. All we know is that it's mesh of neurons and electrical signals that say hey, move this, move this, move this, move this, retract this, retract this, retract this, retract this to do this. And then say again, do this, retract this, move this, retract this, retract this, retract this, retract this, retract this, to do this. That's basically how it kind of works. That's all we know about the brain, to be honest, too. Chapter 6, down the hatch, we start talking about the digestive system. First, the mouth and the throat. Then in chapter 7, we actually talk about the heart and blood. This is actually the gruesomest part of this book. Also, I'm not going to say it's gruesomeness. And this had his own humor, but whenever I think of blood, it's kind of... I'm not going to say anymore. Chapter 8, in the dissecting room, we finally learn about skeleton. Turns out Leonardo da Vinci is the first guy to ever start dissecting skeletons, and here's literally a sketch of him, a sketch of it. The chemistry department. It's here. Here you go. And it's in a Leonardo da Vinci style writing too. And even he had to say it's gruesome, even for a guy who tried to make a robot. He didn't need to know how the human body works to know how to make a robot. And it also turns out we finally learn about little chemical responses. And finally we're able to cure this little girl. There's a photograph of a case called case 6, where there was this girl before she was given insulin treatment and afterward, which actually kind of did a great effect, loads and loads of effect too. However, sometimes people actually do things wrong too. Sure, we didn't know that much about medicine and inside ideas back then. And the only way we actually learned much about the stomach is because of a guy who had an accident that actually exposed the insides of his stomach. So this doctor literally put a silk string through just to see the effects of gastric liquids and chemicals, which is melted the silk string. So I'm pretty sure pieces of silk string is still inside that body if it's still somehow not decomposed right now. which is very, very unlikely. I mean, people still do these little treatments where, like, you have breast cancer, you have to take off the breast itself, and these are hot, like, red hot iron too, and that's not bad. I mean, that's not bad compared to like the painful things that they did back then too. I mean, yeah, there are also good things. This guy was able to create the strongest radiation gun in like at the time, and he used it to cure his mother after like shooting it at her belly for like several times. So, like let me die because radiation on bellies are very, very painful. And after a few treatments, she was actually felt better, and she lived for another 20 or so years. Just nice. And however, there are also some injustices of science. This is the guy who this is the student who found out about soil microbes that can help penicillin, and this is the supervisor who took all the credit. And after he died, he took all the credit until he died. And after he died, like this Royal Society said, sorry, and gave him an award, their highest award, which has his name on it. And I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure that they weren't very mindful when they were giving him that award. Albert Schweitzer was not impressed, I'm pretty sure, and very, very not satisfied. Then we start talking about cancer, the medicine, and how much we don't know, how they tried to make an Alzheimer's cure but it was only allowed to be tested on rats, and turns out rats can't get Alzheimer's naturally, lucky them. So they had to like genetically modify the rats, meaning that they will literally like experience the drugs differently from humans, which is bad. Because like after they tried some treatment on rats and it worked, then they tried on humans, it went terribly wrong. I mean, it probably was worth a lot. Maybe not just gold, because it's not real gold, so I'm just gonna put it back in the pocket. That's all I have. So, bye-bye.